But with a change in demographic in America comes a change in immigration policy. It's Malcolm Out Loud here. Welcome to the show. We've been talking about immigration. As you know, it has been approved in the Senate. It now arrives in the House. Still a lot of things to happen here and come together on this important piece of legislation. It's been a lot of years since we've looked at immigration as we are looking at it right at this very moment in the United States. Joining me back again, I'm thrilled to have on here Tamar Jacoby, and Tamar's president and CEO of ImmigrationWorks USA. And ImmigrationWorks is a national federation of small business owners working to advance better immigration law. When you say, better immigration law, sounds like that's exactly what we need, Tamar, right now in this country. All right, so it sped through the Senate. As we talked last, since we spoke, Tamar, and now that it's in the House, there's been a lot of pressure on Speaker Boehner to get the troops all lined up here and figure out what we're going to do with immigration. At the end of the day, and we'll get into a couple of the issues, what do you think? Do Republicans come on board with this? Are we more optimistic or pessimistic at this time, at this moment, compared to when we spoke last a few weeks ago?
So I'm less pessimistic than a lot of people, but the one way I want to qualify a little bit the way you're talking about it, I don't think anything is coming from the Senate to the House. I think the Senate did its thing. This is very important to House members, right? The Senate did its thing, and they have a product, and now the House is starting with what the House sees as a blank piece of paper, and they're going to do their thing. And then the two are going to meet somewhere in the middle. That's very important to House members, because Republicans in the House don't want to think that the Democrat-controlled Senate is telling them what to do or giving them the first draft. And I think they are going to do a lot of things their own way. So I'm cautiously optimistic, to go back to the big picture. I am cautiously optimistic that the House is going to actually answer this problem with a package of answers that they're going to send back to be reconciled with the Senate. But it's really important not to think that they're coming on board with something the Senate did.
Well, what you're speaking about is the issues. There's a lot of sensitivity on this particular legislation, but this is the way it works in Washington. You're right. The Senate has their version. The House has their version. Very seldom are they the same version, and that's how it works. No question about it. But, all right, so let's talk about that, because now the biggest beef I've heard, and I'd like your view on this, Tamar, a lot of things I've heard from Republican leadership is, why can we not have the immigration bill be smaller pieces? Why does it have to be a 1,000-plus page bill extravaganza with trying to cover all the issues at once? Why not breaking down into smaller, palatable bites?
I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I think they're going to break it down into smaller pieces. They already are. The House Judiciary Committee has already passed 4 smaller pieces, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. These are the pieces that will go into the same big picture that the Senate covered, but they're going to do a jigsaw puzzle piece at a time.
But Tamar,
and then probably in the end, they're going to put the puzzle together and send the Senate the whole puzzle, right?
Yeah, but hold on a moment. Hold on a moment.
Senate President
Harry Reid.
Those pieces one piece at a time.
Yeah, but hold on. Senate President Harry Reid has already stated he's not going to go along with these smaller bites. He has already given the signal for that. No.
Yeah, no, but what's going to happen? Everybody's playing brinksmanship, right? So everybody's saying, now I can't do that, I can't do that, I must do that, I can't do that. The House is not going to, what the House sends him, again, will not be one plate, at one time and another plate half an hour later. They're going to send the whole meal on a tray at one time, so he's not going to have anything to complain about. They're going to prepare it one dish at a time.
But the actual legislation and the actual approval of this immigration bill, you're not saying to me that you expect this to truly be broken down at the end of the day. It's still going to be one large bill.
Well, what I expect the House to do, they're going to, like each piece, like let's think of it as Title A, Title B, Title C. One of them is the border, right. One of them is worker visas, one of them is high-skilled worker visas. They're going to vote on each one of those separately. So at any given moment, you're not voting on 42 things all wrapped up in one thing. You're just voting on one issue. But then there'll be like a self-executing rule that will say, now, once we've done voting, these are all put together in a package to send back to the Senate.
Right.
So it could be reconciled with its
Tamar,
big package.
Yeah, so Tamar, right now, I see the two big issues here that I've been following, at least on this, is, not a new conversation. It's about border security, which is, you can bring this back for years, and certainly you can bring it back through the presidential elections and talk about this. This issue has come up many, many times, and a lot of the border states are very troubled by, they feel they don't get the support from the federal government, so on and so forth. But again, the Republicans are suggesting border security is first and foremost. You have to do that. Now, the legalization, let me say first, though, the legalization of the 11 million immigrants who are here illegally and how we get those people to rationalize who stays, who goes, what happens, that's really a very edgy piece of the conversation. You see those as the two big pieces, right?
Here's what I'm hearing in the House. I'm hearing, if you'd asked me even a month ago, even 6 weeks ago, I would have said, I'm really not sure what the House is going to do on that.
Right.
But it's becoming a lot clearer, I think, where the House is headed. And I would say, quite likely at this point, now maybe that's a little too optimistic, but certainly possible, certainly within the realm of possible, is that the House passes a DREAM Act. And that's some path to citizenship, I'm using the C word, citizenship, for children brought here illegally, young people brought here illegally as children. The House is probably going to call it the KIDS, like KID, KIDS Act. And I think there's a good chance they'll pass that. So that's like about 1.5 million young people. So we got about 10 million, 9.5 million people left. What about them?
Right.
And what I'm hearing from House members on those people, the adults, is more and more House Republicans are getting their head around the idea of legal status. So not citizenship,
right,
but a work permit, the right to travel, the right to maybe stay in the country, the right to stay in the country legally. So not citizenship, but legal status. They probably wouldn't bar citizenship. They probably wouldn't say never, ever, ever to citizenship, but what they do want to strongly say is we don't want to create a special or direct or easy path to citizenship that we only create for these people.
Right.
So that's kind of like, it's not all the way to what the Senate and what Democrats want, which is a direct path to citizenship,
right,
but it's a path to legal status where you're not barred from getting to citizenship if you can get there some other way.
All right.
Why some other way? If you marry a citizen or you get a
which has always been the
to
case.
Sponsor you.
All right, Tamar, the KIDS Act, as you call it, DREAM Act, we all know as DREAM Act, the KIDS Act, whatever. Are you very supportive of the KIDS Act, allowing the kids to get citizenship?
Yeah, I think these are people who I think we need an answer for all these people, right?
Yeah.
I think we need some kind of answer for all these people.
Yeah.
And I think young people, they live among us. It's not good for us that they're here and outside the rule of law and outside our society. It's not good for our security. It's not good for our values. We don't want to be a country where there's some people who kind of only are, I don't even want to use the metaphor, but like 3/5 of citizens or something. That's not good for us.
Well, Tamar, now the KIDS Act. Do you believe?
I'm for that.
Do you believe most of the Republican leadership will come on, for real now, do you believe they will come on board with the KIDS Act?
Oh, I think there's no question that leadership will come on board. The question is, will 125 Republican members come on board?
And will they?
There's no question in my mind that leadership will be on board.
Will we get all the members to approve it, do you think, or what?
Well, you need 125. We're gonna need half of the majority of the majority. And I think it's too soon to say sure, but I think it's possible. I think it's within the realm of possible.
Yeah. Well, I want to say at this moment with you, I completely have always, my position has always been, Tamar, to endorse something like the DREAM Act or the KIDS Act. I do not think these children, these little children, should be penalized in our country, which they had no control of whatsoever in being here. This conservative has always supported protecting the kids of any nationality. They should have the right to citizenship in our country.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and Republican leadership needs to come in on that. I totally believe.
I think they will.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm not worried about that. I am. I'm not sure we'll get to a majority votes. Right? That's a lot of votes.
It is.
But I think it's possible.
Yeah. Well, one of the, I'm going to tell you something. One of the big political challenges of this, and I'm going to be a little bit of a smart guy here, so just bear with me. I'll qualify this in advance. But I hate to say this, but this is really how I see some of these things happen. Sometimes I wonder the opposing party, Tamar, and the leadership in the opposing party, sadly, will hold a bill back because it gives too much power to the other political party in power. For instance, in this particular case, President Obama has made it very clear coming into his second term that immigration bill was number one on his list. It was big. He was going to, just like Obamacare, health care was the first shot, immigration was the second time around, big time. I really worry, Tamar, that there are Republicans who do not want to give this president a victory. I understand it all. I get how politics works. But is that a concern to you at all, or are you above all that?
No, no, of course, those are all the things that we will all worry about all day long.
Okay.
But I think so I spend a lot of time with the Republican House members, right? That's what I do, is I see the House members, I see their staff, I spend all day, you know, not every day, but a lot of days. I feel that I haven't met one House member yet, and even some of the most conservative, who isn't grappling with this,
right,
struggling with it, thinking we've got to somehow do something on this for the good of the party. What can I do? And you can see it. You can see the wheels turning when you meet with them, and you can see people kind of stretching and trying things on, and talking to each other. So I see much more of that right now than I see. I'm sure they're definitely thinking about Democrats, and they're definitely thinking about how it will play out with Democrats. But I think what they're probably realizing is if they do nothing, Democrats are going to figure out how to use that against them so effectively that they kind of have to do something. And so what they're trying to figure out is what can they do on their terms that's safe to get it behind them.
It's definitely political football, no question. Senator John McCain came out to say he predicted terrible political consequences for the Republican Party if the GOP, House of Representatives, kills this comprehensive immigration reform. Many other senators, and certainly part of the Gang of Eight, have warned as well. So we'll see. But there's a real lack of unity in the House, and I have heard a lot of reports from the House, and really, again, people that have requested Speaker Boehner to people are after him to step down. I wonder if we're not ready for new leadership in the House of Representatives and the Senate, for that matter. I think we're I think it's getting a little old at this point. What do you think?
I think that's way beyond my pay grade, right? I mean, I think Speaker Boehner is going to have a good shot at trying to shepherd something through on this in the fall, and maybe it'll spill over to sometime of next year. I don't think we're going to have new leadership before that.
Yeah.
So I think for right now, this is about the guy that brung you.
Yeah.
This is about leadership we've got and the members we've got. I don't. Yes, the Republican conference is divided, but I actually think there's some people. I mean, Steve King from Iowa, everybody knows. He's the biggest immigration skeptic in the House. And he said something yesterday that a lot of people thought was kind of ugly, or the day before yesterday, comparing dream kids to drug smugglers. And Speaker Boehner actually told him, don't talk ugly like that. I mean, he said it in public. He reprimanded him in public. He said, that's ugly. I denounce that. But I don't think Steve King, I don't think it's like half and half.
Well, let me tell you what you're speaking of. Senator King's remarks. He said that there are more drug smuggling immigrant children than valedictorians.
Right.
Pretty wild, huh?
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But here's how I think it breaks down. I mean, I can't put exact percentages on it, but I think Steve King has his faction. I think it's small. Is it 20%? Is it more? I don't know. I don't think it's a majority, even close to a majority, or even close to half or anything. Then there are the people who definitely want to do it, and that's a small group too, right?
Okay.
And then there's a lot of people in the middle who, again, as I see it, are trying it on.
Right.
You go to meetings and you hear people say things, and you can almost tell they're not sure they believe them. Right. They're just kind of saying it to say, could I say that plausibly?
Yeah.
And it's kind of great to watch, actually, because it's really, I feel like all these people are learning and thinking and stretching. I'm not sure where they're going to get, but it's what makes me hopeful.
Yeah,
I see these people, grappling. It's just good.
Sure.
They're grappling with this issue. It's what they're supposed to do here. It's what they get elected to
do. Right.
And for right now, I'm hopeful about it. In a month, I might not be so hopeful. I might not like the outcome. But right now, it looks pretty interesting.
It's a political process that has to play itself out. There's no question. The political football back and forth. This is a very, very important and large piece of legislation. There's no question about it. We're talking billions of dollars here that are impacted. So again, the two big issues, let me break down for a quick moment, Tamar. Border security. All right, a lot of talk about having a fence, a wall, something that's going to stop the entire 700 miles or something all the way through. And then there's talk about, you know, again, we have drones now down there, but more drones, more security guards, more armed forces. So all of this business, it's a combination of several things that Republicans want for border security to stop the illegal business.
The big issue on border security is who's going to decide when it's secure. That's what's the difference between the Senate and the House.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And in the Senate, they have the same people who are supposed to fix it are going to tell us when they're done.
Yeah.
The Homeland Security, who's supposed to build the fence and buy the drones and set it all up, they're the judges of when they're finished. Right. And the House is saying that's crazy. We need some outside measures because we don't trust them. You know, in a Democratic administration, they might not be serious. We want some outside measures of when it's secure. Everybody kind of agrees it takes some fencing, some drones, some money, some more men. Exactly what the combination is not the really hard technical question. The hard technical question is how do you decide when you're done? Yeah. And the House, interestingly enough, the House border security package already passed in a committee, right? It spends much less money than the Senate. You know, the conservative House, the draconian House, well, their border security thing is much cheaper and it's much more efficient, but they are tougher on who's going to tell us when it's done. Well, and they say it can't be the fox guarding the chicken coop. It has to be a real, or the chicken guarding the chicken coop. It has to be a real outside objective measure.
Well, you've got to remember the House is obviously trying to prove to Americans they can be more efficient with the pocketbook. That's the Republican caucus there. The Democrats, Harry Reid has he has an endless MasterCard. It doesn't matter to him. They just keep spend, man. I've never seen anything like it. But anyways, so all right, so I think the Republicans are recognizing that it is really touchy because there are those conservatives in the party who say, wait a minute, doing nothing is really what they want. Well, doing nothing is never an answer to me. But yeah, especially with a broken system that we have here. So I don't think they win by doing nothing. They're going to have to do something. I agree.
And that's in a way what I've been saying. In a way, you put it much pithier. That's kind of what I've been saying. There are very few Republicans in the House who think doing nothing is good enough.
Right. I do believe the border security thing. I completely agree with you, Tamar, in regards to a little bit of these things and to get. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I've been worried. I've been speaking for years now about our border. Not just, you know what worries me even more than illegal immigration is illegal terrorist activities.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's my real. That's my hang up.
The drug wars and the drug wars.
The drug wars
spill over.
It's a lot of evil business down there, man. But I worry all the time. And it's not just the south border. I worry about the north border too.
Well, but the point here. Here's one of the arguments, right? This is a really important point. And this was said to me once. Let me dramatize it. I once visited an ICE agent, a veteran immigration enforcement guy on the border in Arizona. And I had to drive all the way down there. And he was a sort of older guy. He'd been a sniper in Vietnam. He was a serious law and order enforcement guy. And what he said, he didn't trust me at first. I spent most of the day there before he trusted me. But near the end, he said, you know, Tamar, if another 9/11 happens, and it happens on my watch because somebody drives a truck full of nuclear material over here, and I don't catch them, because I'm so busy chasing your next busboy or my next gardener, I'll never forgive myself.
Yeah.
And so part of the point of immigration reform is to take those busboys and the gardeners off the table so that if there is somebody coming across, we can probably pretty much figure out they're actually coming for bad reasons. If you give the busboy and the gardener a legal way to come, you know, if we actually need a busboy and gardener working here, let's give him a visa so that he doesn't get in the way of finding the truck full of nuclear material. It's like the needle in the haystack. Get rid of the haystack so we can find the needles.
Yeah, well said. I think, as you say, the next piece of terrorism, and I hope it never happens, but we know that's maybe inevitable, I think is very scary. And it's not going to come in. I've said this right along, Tamar. It's not going to come in at JFK Airport. It's not coming in at an airport. You've got to look at our ports, our seaports. You've got to look at the vessels that come in there. You have to look at our borders. You have to look at chemical weapons. You have to look at all of these things that these creative people use. And it's going to be a sad day. And I worry about it every day.
And all I'm saying is that it's actually, that's not a reason not to do immigration reform. That actually is a reason
Damn
to
well
do
reason to do it. That's right.
Immigration.
And I've been saying it right along before this ever came up about the illegal. So listen, so all right, so we've got the border security piece agreed on, solved. They come together on that, terrific. The other piece, again, with visa reform and getting into how do we legalize all these illegal immigrations. All right, so we agree on the DREAM Act, KIDS Act for the most part. We think the Republicans come along. The real challenge now is going to be, where the rubber meets the road, is legalizing the citizens so that, you know, again, and I know you hate that word, but that the Republicans don't have to eat with their constituents this amnesty, the dirty, dirty word that comes up in campaigns, you know?
And so just before we get to that, I just have to say, like, 2 sentences. We skipped a lot of important pieces, right? You need to have more visas for PhD scientists. We need to have more visas for farm workers. We need to have enforcement in the workplace. But I'll give you all those pieces, okay? Let's assume we can take care of those, and all we have left are these adults. And here's what the Republicans are thinking, or a lot of Republicans, more and more Republicans. They're thinking, if I create a special way for those adults to get something special that no one else can get, the way we are giving something kind of special to the kids, right? We're saying to the kids, we're going to give you the most special thing we have, which is citizenship, even though technically you broke the law. For the adults, we don't want to give them anything special. We're definitely not going to give them anything special. But if you figure out, well, they're actually already here and they're already living here and they're not going home, we're not going to deport them, right? That's not going to work. We thought about that. That's too expensive. We're not going to probably make them self-deport. Probably not that doable. So they're basically already here. There's not that much we can do about it. It's nothing to give them if you to just say, we'll make you come forward. We'll make you admit that you committed a crime, and we'll let you stay here once you admit you committed a crime, but we'll be watching you. You'll be on probation for 5 or 10 years. And if you screw up your probation, we will actually make you go home. That's kind of along the lines they're thinking. Something where you make people say they did something wrong, where you make them, put them on sort of on some kind of probation, where they can actually, things can go wrong if they don't obey. And the question is, does that count as amnesty? And I think more and more Republicans are thinking, you know, that doesn't sound very much like amnesty to me, like probation, where people are watching you and you have to report in, and, you know, it just doesn't, that doesn't really sound like amnesty.
Tamar,
and we're not going to give them citizens.
Do you agree with those points you just said?
I don't think that sounds like amnesty to me.
No, I get you. But with Republicans that are coming on board with that, do you agree with that?
I think, you know, I think ultimately, personally, I'm not sure I want to live in a country where there's anybody who lives here and is a second-class person, right? Right. But I think for right now, if this is kind of the best, if this is as far as Republicans are comfortable going, maybe this is the best we can do, you know? Yeah. And then I think the question is going to be, the ball is going to be in the Democrats' court, and they're going to have to decide, is that good enough? Yeah. Like, they wanted, you know, everything Christmas, you know, everything they wanted, and it's going to come back to them, and it's not going to be everything they wanted. It's going to be half.
Tamar Jacoby, boy, I'm impressed. I'm impressed, Tamar, because you know, I think we agree on many things, and I think with your endorsement of what you just said, I think it's good leadership, and I think your leadership. Listen, you have my support, and I think
there are a lot of smarter people in government thinking of this than me.
All right, super. I think the politicians need to listen to you, because I think you just spelled it out very well, and I think if there's going to be an answer and a compromise, you just said it. And I think if that's where the House is going, I think that you know, and you know what, you know, I am a little listening to you now, and as we talked about this, I am much more optimistic. I'll tell you why. If we can get done what you just said, and the Republicans can probably bite into that, okay, got it. Harry Reid's not going to be happy, but who really gives a hoot at the end of the day? And I'll tell you why. The president wants immigration bill passed in this administration. The Democrats want this badly. The Republicans know it. Harry Reid wants it. He's going to have to buckle. And if the Republicans can get done what you just said, chances are this will fly when they come together.
Well, I think what'll happen is it'll go back to the Democrats, and they'll be totally torn, right?
Right.
Because the ones who really care about immigrants will say it's a lot better than nothing, and the ones who just want to use it as a political football will say, no, we're going to not let.
But the president will handle them. The president will get to them. He gets to all of them. I could care. You know what? The president controls his Democrats fairly well.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that. So you think we're done?
I think we're pretty close. I think if what you just said, if the House keeps on it and Speaker Boehner doesn't drop the ball and he really works with the Republicans in a way that you just said and methodically brings this along, yeah, you know, I know some Democrats are not going to be happy with that, but you know what? They want immigration passed at the end of the day. They know we need this to happen, and I think they're going to want to give the president another victory. And it would be, I'll tell you what, it would be the first piece of legislation we've had, and as far as I can remember, where both parties actually could sit down at the table and not kill each other.
Sure would.
You know,
sure would.
Which would be a mind-blowing experience. Anyways, we'll keep tabs with you on all of this. It's such a pleasure. You're such a wealth of knowledge and wisdom on this. Tamar Jacoby, CEO, ImmigrationWorks USA, and the website I want to give you because it's a great website, immigrationworksusa.org. This will also be out on our national publication. You'll see this all over the country and the world. This will be rebroadcast again, and you'll be able to see this again and again, no problem, and understand what's going on, what the issues are. Tamar, you're a great spokesman for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Blessings to have you here. Remember, folks, it's immigration's important, and thanks for joining us. Important conversation. It's Malcolm All Loud here. Get involved, get loud.